Welcome to Lincoln Park Guide TV, brought to you by TCO Studios and funded by Allegany Franciscan Ministries through the Protecting the Village campaign. I'm your host, Anthony Maynard, and today we have with us former State Representative Larry Lee. Representative Lee is a resident of St. Lucie County and was elected to represent District 84 starting in 2012. He's a Livingston College grad and has lived with his wife Alice on the Treasure Coast for many years. Today we're going to focus our discussion on Representative Lee's current assessment of the city of Fort Pierce and the Lincoln Park area as it relates to the financial impact of the pandemic, his experiences with COVID over the past year, and his take on the COVID vaccine, its distribution, and the long-term outlook for our community. Let's get right into it. Representative Lee, thank you for joining us. Now, myself and some of the staff from TCOS, we joined your show on 104.5 The Flame last fall. And if you want to please share some information about the time and the airing of that show so our viewing audience can tune in, we'd appreciate that. What have you been up to since then?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me, Anthony. And it was a pleasure interviewing you and Joel on my weekly radio show on 104.5 The Flame, WFLM. That night we talked about what you're doing here, the things that you all are doing in the community, and we really appreciate that. My show is called the Restoring the Village Family Hour, and it airs every Wednesday, and we talk about things that's of importance to the neighbors of the Treasure Coast. We talk to people in Martin County, in River County, and St. Lucie County. Issues that affect our community, both economically, socially, health-wise, you name it. The topics vary. But it was great having you all there. You were very informative.
Well, thank you. We found it to be a fantastic show. I guess I had underestimated the reach of that show, because after we had been on that show, we got so many calls and emails and so forth. So we really appreciated you having us on, and it helped us to boost the campaign along.
Well, Anthony, most people don't know that show is listened on the web nationally. We had our most listened to show last week. We had listeners in New York, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina, California, and Texas. We had a very popular show as part of our Black History. It was about a museum that my family and I started up in Georgia. Nice. And so it was a well listened to show. So you can listen to it on the radio here on terrestrial radio locally, but on the web you can download our apps. And that's probably what happened with you all when you were on there. People were downloading the apps, listening to it even outside of the Treasure Coast. Probably so.
So to our viewing audience, please tune in to Representative Lee's show on 104.5 on Wednesdays. And you can catch a litany of topics that he just touched on a little bit. And I know that he'll continue with fresh topics and information into the future. That being said, some of the current topics we're dealing with, the nation is been dealing with this whole pandemic and the economic impact, as well as the social impact of that for a while. Have you seen any economic impact from the pandemic reach into Fort Pierce and impact our city?
Most definitely, Anthony. We've seen the restaurant industry has been hit very hard. Our hospitality industry, the hotels, and being a former legislator, Senator Bobby Powell was a guest on one of my shows, and he was telling me how it's going to affect Florida's budget, because we generate most of our budget from sales tax, and with tourism being affected the way that it's being affected, it's going to have a ripple effect on Florida's budget. Disney, for instance, you think about the number of people that's not coming to Disney, some of our attractions, our beaches, our hotels, all of these are being affected by the pandemic. And of course, when people don't come to visit Florida, we do not have the tax revenue that those visitors bring with them. So it's going to affect our budget. I can see in this coming legislative session that we're going to have a tough budget year. you may see some cuts with local funding that normally would come from Tallahassee that may not come.
Wow. Yeah. So impact is definitely hitting home.
Yes.
Focusing in a little bit more acutely on that. In times of crisis and periods of need, we often see that Black and brown communities are disproportionately impacted. And we see the city of Fort Pierce already trying to avert some of that happening in Lincoln Park. Can you touch on any experiences you had working through some of those challenges in the city and in the county in general?
Well, our Black and brown communities, they had challenges before the pandemic. So with this pandemic, they are affected even more so now. We're seeing a lot of people struggling to just provide the normal means, being able to pay their rents, being able to buy grocery, put gas in their cars, pay for the normal things that they normally pay for. Some people are being laid off because you take the service industry. You have people working in the hotels. Well, if there are no guests in the hotels, then there's no need for the people to come there, the housekeepers. You look at the restaurant industry. Right here in this community, you've had restaurants such as TGI Fridays, Ruby Tuesdays. Both of those restaurants are now closed, and those people who worked in those restaurants are out of jobs. And of course, you get the unemployment benefits, but that only lasts so long. So it's a national challenge that we have. I am proud that President Biden is now putting forth another stimulus package that can help those people who have been affected the most, particularly those with small businesses. I just read this week that they're going to be making an effort this time to find some of the sole proprietors who was excluded from the previous PPP loans. So, but I am optimistic. America has the resilience to bounce back, and I believe that we're going to bounce back. It's not going to be easy, and I think that we're going to end up having a new norm. I've been following this pandemic for quite some time, and I believe that what we're going to see is this COVID situation be similar to the flu, where everybody's getting their shots and whatnot, but it might be a thing where we have to, until we develop some herd immunity, get a booster shot every year. My wife and my mother and I, we have both of ours. We took our first and second shots, and I encourage our listening audience to make sure that you do it. There are so many myths out there about the experiments and things that's going on, but I could tell you I would not have taken that shot if I thought it was not safe. And I took my mother with me, and I definitely would not have had my mother take that shot had I felt it was dangerous. At her age, she's 87 years of age right now, so she's very vulnerable, to the pandemic. And I'd like to let our listening audience know, I'm not sure how this tape's going to come out, but even right here, we're socially distanced, and I follow the guidelines. Even though I have had both my first and second shot, I still wear my mask, and I still practice social distancing. And I think that if we all do that, we can get a handle on this pandemic.
Well said, Representative Lee, and I thank you for mentioning that and then sharing some of your personal experience there, because I think it'll go a long way to people in our community. To hear myself here or somebody else say it, that's one thing, but coming from you, there's a certain amount of weight, a man of your experience and your interaction in the community. So hopefully ears will be open and that'll be well received. We are the whole vaccine piece, and we've been working on COVID at TICOS for a number of months now. And that's one of the things that we're focusing on moving forward, weaving that into the campaign for people to know COVID in order to get our community to a place where there is no COVID, right? So we have to be mindful of the information that you just shared, the facts and the realities of the situation, so that we can communicate effectively and help one another as we go through and get through to the end and the brighter side of this whole pandemic. With that being said, this is just part of the work, and we're just touching on a couple of the things that you do and have done for the community. Your Restoring the Village initiative has been key to some of the progress Fort Pierce has made for its residents and overall. Can you touch on that initiative and how it's helped to and helping to change the city?
Well, you know, Anthony, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, I was elected to the Florida House of Representatives in 2012, and 2013 I started the Restoring the Village initiatives, and we say initiatives because there are a number of them. And I grew. How that came about was one day I was talking to a friend, Dr. Alvin Miller, up in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was telling him when we grew up in the Lincoln Park community, it was like a village. Everybody looked out for each other. And I said, you know, we really need to bring that back. And Alvin said, yeah, Larry, we got to try to find a way to restore it. I said, Alvin, I like that. He said, what do you mean? I said, that's going to be the name of the movement, Restoring the Village. That's going to be our mission. And I am so proud because even the idea is catching on, because when you started the show, you say protecting the village. You know, and if you look at St. Lucie County and their brochures, when they talk about St. Lucie County, they talk about the village of Lincoln Park. Mm-hmm. So village is now becoming a buzzword. Right. And even down in Port St. Lucie, I saw a little community, and I forgot the name, but it might have been Northport Village. Mm-hmm. You know, and my dream and my vision was, when I came up with that slogan, was that if we could create these little villages all over St. Lucie County, and matter of fact, all over the state, people start taking pride of their village. Right. And then you can create a little friendly competition, you know, to see if I can make my village a little nicer than your village, right. You know. And if you go to Northwest Fort Pierce, Anthony, you will see Sheridan Plaza, and there's a sign there that says Sheridan Plaza, a Restoring the Village partner. We helped put that sign up. The following year, we went to Sunland Gardens, and we helped them erect a beautiful sign that says Sunland Gardens, a Restoring the Village partner. So we're creating these partnerships, and you ask, where are we going with it? I had this vision to take 25th Street, and you've heard of the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. Everyone knows about that. Well, I had this vision. I said, what if we could just take 25th Street, which is a 4-lane road in Fort Pierce, and from Juanita Avenue to Orange Avenue, and let's target that area. Try to get the property owners and the business owners there to just take pride in their properties. And I was visited by Anthony Coletta of the First Tee program. And it's a program that uses golf to take brown and black and brown kids from the neighborhoods, take them to the golf course, give them another environment to become exposed to. And it's not necessarily trying to make them golf professionals, but it's teaching them the 9 core principles of golf. And most people don't know, but golf is a game of honor. You keep your own score. So it teaches integrity, character, trustworthiness, and things, sportsmanship. So when the guy asked me to get involved, I said, you know, I have a better idea. He said, what is that? I said, rather than take the kids to the golf course, let's bring the golf course to the kids. Because in my mind, I was thinking, we could use this to become a catalyst to help with the redevelopment of 25th Street. Because I had a friend that had about 5.68 acres. And he wanted, he had talked to me when I was in the legislature about trying to create something for kids there and jobs. And he wanted $375,000 for that property. Okay. And when I told him my vision, he said, you know, we're going to help you. And they reduced that price to $240,000. We raised the money, we paid for the property in full. We deeded the property, my foundation deeded the property to the Boys and Girls Club. Now we are building a 12,000 square foot Boys and Girls Club with a 5,000 square foot banquet facility right in the heart of the Lincoln Park community. It's going to have a balcony, and it will overlook the golf course, and it will have a beautiful garden with a waterfall in it where you can have outdoor weddings in the garden, and you could come inside and have your wedding reception, you know, inside. And this will all be run by the kids, you know, provide jobs. Downstairs we'll have a little cafe. It has a putt-putt golf course and a 6-hole golf course. And you know, Anthony, all of the services of the golf course has been donated. The clearing of the land and the building of the courts is donated. It's all artificial turf. All the artificial turf is donated, and all the installation of the turf is donated. That's probably over $1 million plus, but it's happening in our community, and we hope that that will serve as a catalyst for other great things that come on 25th Street.
Wow, that is amazing. I've never heard of a project like that in that type of area, serving the community in that way. But it brings me to another point, because so that being your background, you haven't come up in that area. How do you come up with this stuff, man? How do you come up with these type of projects? Where do you, so that the viewing audience knows, like, how do you generate a vision for something like that, where you're talking about seeing something in an area that it's never seen anything like that before?
I'll use a bumblebee as an example. A bumblebee defies the laws of aerodynamics. His body is so big and his wings is so small, he shouldn't be able to fly. But no one tells him he can't fly. So many times I often lay up at night and I dream. Some people, one great president once said, some people see things as they are and say, why? I see things as they can be and say, why not? And so I surround myself with visionaries, people that believe. And we had one family donate $300,000 toward that project. And all of these people, the Gatler family, who's doing all of the clearing and the construction work, Joe Talese, who's the general contractor, who's donating his service to pull the permit and oversee the job at no cost, Steve Lacassi, who's the architect, who's doing all the architectural work at no cost, Jimmy Fazio, if you Google Jim Fazio, Fazio, one of the top golf course designers in the world, is designing that golf course at no charge. And I can go on, Speedy Fee, who's an attorney, donated all of his legal services. We have 3 nurseries, Horizon Nursery, Gary Roberts Nursery, and Nature's Keeper. They're donating the Royal Palms. We want to have really nice palms there. The St. Lucie County School Board, they donated about an acre of property. It's just like God put these people in place for such a time as this. And when I look back at it, I know it had to be God, because I'm not that smart to do this, and it's just been an amazing journey, man. I'm excited. I stay up at night, just seeing the possibilities of what that's gonna do, not just for those kids, but for the community. There's not a golf course, Boys and Girls Club in the country with its own little golf course, but it'd be one in Fort Pierce.
Now see, and that's a testimony to the type of thinking that we're talking about. And in that, in that whole list, we would be remiss without including you representatively, because with all of those people even willing to help, there has to be a hub to tie it together. So, thank God for you for that. And, I know myself and all of us in the community appreciate it. We're going to pivot a little bit because one of the primary foci of the news cycles now, and then subsequently of the campaign that we're currently working on for Protecting the Village through Allegany Franciscan Ministries, is regarding the vaccine and the distribution of it. We're seeing that distribution is slow in communities of color, and that's due to a coupling of things. One, access or lack of access. The other being mistrust towards the administration and medicine in regards to vaccines and things of that nature. We go back in the past to, the experiments with Tuskegee and so forth, and those type of things where these seeds of distrust were originally planted. And now it creates a little bit of a barrier for some of us to be able to openly accept that this vaccine is actually healthy. It's good for us. It'll help us in terms of our fight with COVID, and that there are no ulterior motives or agendas associated with it. Can you share your opinion on the vaccine and some of the challenges the nation is encountering with that?
Well, as I said earlier about my experience, my wife and my mother, we took the first shots back in early January, and we took our second shots early February. We had the Moderna. It went very smoothly, but we saw very few people of color, out there. And a lot of it has to do with what you were saying, distrust. And I think that shows like this and others, we just got to do a better job getting the message out. People who've taken it to let people know I'm okay, you'll be okay also. On my radio show, I had Clint Sperber, who is the director for the St. Lucie County Health Department, and Dr. Wilhelmina Lewis, who is head of the Florida Community Health Centers, and Dr. Dwight Dawkins. And two of those doctors were people of color. So I had them speak on it, and that was helpful. And we need to do more of that, because I think that within our community, once we see others, it makes us feel a bit more comfortable. I know my church, River of Life Ministries, under the leadership of Pastor Vernon Shazier, we're going to be doing, I know your father-in-law, my good friend in high school, football teammate, Pastor Kenneth Mills, they've had some. So our black churches are now stepping up, and that's what we really need to do. When you talk about restoring the village, that's one of the things that we need to get back to, because in the village, the church was always the center of everything. Education, civil rights movements, it was always the church. Right. And what we need to do now is for our churches to become stronger and step up and stop the turf battles. So many times, some of our churches won't participate with this church because they feel this church is going to get all the credit. Right. But we got to put that divisiveness away and work together. And I feel very optimistic that we have a new breed of people coming within the black community, and that's going to help us overcome some of the obstacles that have held us back.
Okay. There have been several organizations, just piggybacking on that a little bit and going back to earlier in terms of what you initiated, there have been several organizations, including us at T-Coast, as you had mentioned, that have been piggybacking on the Restoring the Village moniker, the concept, both in name and in action, and working to try to further the impact that you started. You had mentioned hearing about some of that. How do you think those organizations and the outreach that you see from now are doing so far? Is it something that you see as part of the vision or an extension of the vision? What is your take on that?
I think you touch on a very good subject. I am on the board of the Common Good Initiative of Allegany Franciscan Ministry. And I want to commend the sisters of the Allegany Franciscan Ministry, because they have made a very huge impact. Matter of fact, every year they've helped fund our Restoring the Village initiatives. And, someone said to me once, yeah, Larry, during our first Restoring the Village project, we painted 26 houses in one day, and I had over 1,000 volunteers. And people say, yeah, it's nice to paint houses, but it's more to that than is Restoring the Village more than that, or that's just what it's about, painting houses? And I said, no. The next year we started our Restoring the Village Scholarship Endowment Program, and we have over $100,000 in that scholarship fund at River State College, and we have just launched another fund, a Restoring the Village Scholarship Fund, that a child can go to any state school and receive the scholarship, not just in River State College. And our goal is to put $1 million in that fund. But going back to what you mentioned, we have to continue to build alliances. And I tell people all the time, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. Right. So if you find yourself steady pulling a mule or a horse that don't want to come, you got to let it go. You let it go and you find someone else. Those people that rallied around me with the golf course and Boys and Girls Clubhouse vision, and the vision to change the Lincoln Park community, putting something very positive. You're talking a multi-million-dollar project. Right. These people started writing checks because they believed. And so I knew who to go to. Same thing when I ran for office. I had people tell me, man, you've never held a public office, you've never run for office, and you're going to run for one of the highest positions in the state of Florida, state representative. Florida has, and a lot of people don't realize, Florida had 21 million people, and they only select 120 people to be one of those state representatives. So what happened was people saying, and you think that you're going to do it. Right. Well, when I faced those people, I would only talk with them once. I wouldn't talk with them again. Because if you surround yourself with negative people, they will kill your dream. So what I try and do is continue to surround myself. I don't get mad at people anymore. I will talk to them. I remember going down to FUD once, and a friend of mine had a little car wash, and I was having my car washed there, and then they some gossip started, everything. I looked at my watch. I didn't have anywhere to go. I said, God, I got to get out of here, man. So I got to get to a meeting. I left, and I hadn't gone there in a long time. He said, man, where you been? I said, look, man, one thing you're going to learn about me, I don't like gossip. I don't like negativity. I don't like being around it. Right. It was too much of that going on that day, you know, and that's our problem. We got some people that will sit around and complain about everything that's wrong with Fort Pierce, everything that's wrong with America, but they do nothing, do nothing to help. And I don't have time for that, you know. I don't get mad at people. I just don't put them into my space.
Well said. You actually too busy doing the help or being the help. And I think that that's something that we should all, you know, aspire or inspire to. So with all of that being said, it's now former State Representative Larry Lee. So moving forward, where can we expect to see you, and what can we expect to see you doing?
You know, Anthony, I had a promising political career. There were some that wanted me to run for state senator, some wanted me to run for Congress, because I had developed a great reputation in Tallahassee working across the aisles. Democrats were in the minority the whole time I was there. There were Democrats up there that never got a bill heard. Every year I was in the legislature, I'm proud to say that I had a great a relationship with the Speaker of the House, all three of them, Will Weatherford, Steve Christofoli, and Richard Cochran. And each one of those men, even though we disagreed a lot on policy, they respected me and I respected them, and I got things done. And because of that, I was recruited, they wanted me to run for senator and then Congress, and I said no. I felt my calling was back here. Okay. Right now at my age, I know that most of my years are behind me, and it's not about the glory. One guy said, man, you could become the first black senator on the Treasure Coast, or you could be the first black congressman on the Treasure Coast. That wasn't about me, you know, and I walked away. When I left the legislature, I left unopposed. You know, I decided to just walk away from it because my heart was back in my community, and restoring the village is what I want to do. You know, and I'll say this in wrapping up. When I was in college, I never planned to go to college. I had a very low self-esteem. That's why I love what the Boys and Girls Clubs do for kids. I went out for football at the encouragement of one of my best friend, and I won a scholarship to college. Went all the way to the Denver Broncos. And of course, I got cut in preseason. And but my first year in college, Anthony, I was about to flunk out. I was not doing well, and I got on my knees in Babcock Hall. I never forget it. And I prayed to God that if you would ever just help me to graduate from college and receive some level of financial success, that I'll never forget where I came from. And that's why I go back to the community that I grew up in, the Lincoln Park community, and I give back. And I think that's why God has blessed me with these people that He surrounded me with to help me with this vision, because I have not forgotten that promise that I made to Him my freshman year in college. And so when you say where next for me, I'm where I am and where I want to be, and that's back in my hometown of Fort Pierce, particularly the Lincoln Park area, making a difference.
Well, excellent. We thank you, and we thank God for that, that your heart is to come back to the community, that you'd helped so much already And these years in the future, I know that whatever you're doing, that name, Larry Lee Jr., we're going to hear it attached to something else, to some other initiative, some other project, and so forth. So we thank you so much, Representative Lee. This has been a great interview. We thank you for the experience that you've shared. And we look forward to not only hearing, but seeing what you have building for the community in the future. This has been the Protecting the Village show, brought to you by the Protecting the Village campaign, funded by Allegany Franciscan Ministries. We want to thank you for joining us. You'll see us again soon with another leader or influencer from the city of Fort Pierce, especially the Lincoln Park area. We have a number of new, exciting initiatives that we're bringing to the Protecting the Village campaign in Lincoln Park, so watch out for that. You can catch all of this information on the LincolnParkGuide.com. We will see you again soon. Thank you for joining us.